Welcome, everyone, to the Luscious Living Podcast. I'm your host, Celine Bilgin, and today I have a very special guest who is one of my teachers, and it was really love at first sight. Ariel came on and she taught us in nutrition school just really about the mind-body principles, and she shared a little bit about her background, but today I have asked her to come on to share with all of us really more about the spirituality and a little bit of astrology and those tools for us to come back home to ourselves and really understand counseling and psychology and how that works. And so Ariel actually is a holistic counselor with a background in social work as well. So she has a lot of experience with people and emotions and knowing herself. And what I love about her work is that she really combines psychology, but like mind, body, and spirituality. I actually had the pleasure of attending a qigong kind of workshop. It was your teachings, another practitioner's teachings, and I just felt uplifted and whole and like myself. And I know even spending a little bit of time on this podcast or YouTube channel, wherever you're watching from, will have you feeling the same as well. So Ariel, thank you for taking the time to be with us today. I'm excited to dive in and really share your wisdom.
Thank you so much, Celine. It's a pleasure to be here.
So,
Yeah.
we are going through some very interesting times as of recording this call. And so there are more people realizing the importance of their mental health. And where do you see that people, when people come to you for counseling, what's an area or questions that you ask people to first and foremost get grounded and then tune into their own wisdom in these kind of chaotic times?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think what happens in times like this is that people's unresolved personal issues start to really come up to the fore. And so there's two levels of of experience happening at the same time. But when things feel more unstable out there, then it does kind of catalyze a certain amount of inner reflection. And I think this is a good thing because we need to go to that place. We need to go to the places that we often shy away from. And sometimes when things feel a little rocky out there, people tend to do a little bit more self-reflection. And the other option, of course, is to be more distracted.
Mm.
So, some people will go to distractions and other people will start on an inner journey. So, definitely there's a lot of evidence of what happens when our inner peace, when our inner centeredness, when our ability to live in a place of loving kindness and non-judgment begins to show itself out in the collective. That is what's happening in such a big way now. I don't mean to simplify a lot of very complex issues, but typically that is really what you're seeing is a lot of evidence of of judgment, of fear, of what happens when our mental health gets out of hand. And so
Yes.
we're really seeing that big mirror out there.
It's
Yeah.
interesting you say that because I have the perspective of most people were never really taught or saw how to deal with complex emotions in the first place, which is why I believe we have more addictions in the world. But then let alone when like a global shakeup happens, that's when we really see the residue of that, right? And
That's right.
so
Yeah, that's right.
as a holistic counselor and really having that spiritual insight too, why do you see that things are the way they are? Like, is there a greater purpose to this for our collective and individual awakening?
Well, I believe there is. We all look at these events from through our own lens. And so, we're going to have many different opinions about what's going on. From my perspective, I do believe we're being shown what happens when people don't attend to their mental health, don't attend to, it's not just mental health, it's spiritual health, it's physical health. They're all related to each other. But the bottom line is we are more than we realize we are. And so this is a tremendous growth opportunity for all of us. And unfortunately, fortunately and unfortunately, growth often happens through crisis. It
Mm,
often happens through, you know, events that cause us to have to change.
yeah.
That we simply realize that, yeah, we can't keep going like that. So, this catalyst of the outer, COVID and the political situations, all and climate change, all the things that we see unfolding in the world, um, it's an invitation for inner growth. It's
Mm.
an invitation for an inner um, awakening to who we really are. And so many spiritual teachers have talked about this. Eckhart Tolle wrote about it in A New Earth, and there's many teachers coming on the scene to support
Mm.
us,
Mm.
right, through these periods of change and transformation. But my belief is that transformation starts within
Mm.
and then ends up translating itself out into our close family and friends, to our inner circles, to whatever circle of influence we have. And of course, when many people are going through that, we're all, helping each other to, as you said right at the very beginning, kind of walking each other home,
Mm.
as Ram Dass said. um, we're helping each other to transform and grow. But it does take a little bit of it has to start with an intention. It has to start with a desire to want to grow, to want to have a look inside, right? To want things to be different.
I love that. And how would you suggest those listening who might feel like they are at that point where something's about to, come forth, but they might be afraid or unsure, or they just don't know what the next step is? What would you guide people to do?
Well, I think that first of all, I'm a big believer in a practice of some sort.
Mm.
And that would be something like meditation, some self-reflection of some sort, whether it's journaling or something that helps us to get, first of all, to center ourselves, to just be quiet,
Mhm.
because there's an awful lot going on up here and out there, and there's lots of noise everywhere. So I would say that one of the first things that I would recommend for people is they just spend some time getting still,
Mm.
being still and being quiet, and listen inside to what is the next step for me? What
Mm.
do I really need? Because I really feel that we have a lot of wisdom, and we have to start with the self and asking the self, what is it? What is the next step for me? And there's no end to helpers that can show up. But the first thing is acknowledging the need that this is, yep, I really do want to grow. There's something inside that's really pushing me to take that next step. Asking inside, what is it? What do I need to do? And then if it's a helper, find a helper, you know? And again, there's so many, we ask our friends, we can ask our, people that we really trust,
Mm.
who do I need to talk to? Who do I need to see? Is it for Reiki maybe? Do I need energy healing? Is it for nutrition? Is it, where do I need to start? Do I need to start with the mind? Do I need to start with the body? Do
Mm.
I need to start with my spirituality and what I believe? You know, they're all related. Kind of
Mhm.
doesn't matter where you start because you're going to end up looking at the whole thing because this is a holistic system, right? So
Yes.
you can enter the system at any level,
And
mind, body.
And oh no, sorry. And that's what I love about your work. And so, as speaking of helpers and really getting to like helping someone see with you, you do exactly that. So for those who have maybe been considering a form of counseling, what does a holistic counselor do? And better yet, what do you do? How do you help the people that come to you?
Yeah. Well, I think the difference between holistic counseling and other types of counseling is that often counseling is considered to be a support for mental health, of course, and much of it consists of different schools of helping supporting people in their mental health, but much of it revolves around the mental aspect.
Mm,
Much of it kind of stays in that realm of talk therapy, thought, cognitions, and behavior. Let's change the thoughts. Let's change the behavior.
mm,
There's very good reasons to engage in that therapy. Absolutely. Um, but for holistic counseling, I would say right from the get-go, we're looking at the person more from a mind, body, and spirit level. So we're looking at all those different levels of the person. And for me, it's about, again, trusting the wisdom of the body,
mm,
right? That a symptom, that change is upon you, or that there's something that's wanting to grow and evolve and
mm,
transform, can come in the form of a symptom that's a physical symptom. It can come in the form of depression, anxiety, you know. So some symptom is displaying itself and saying, hey, look, change is happening, transformation is possible here.
mm,
With holistic counseling, I use different techniques to use inquiry. And this is just a back and forth um, person going on a guided visualization, moving through the body to really directly dialogue with the symptom.
mm, mm.
Because we could talk about it, but if the symptom is existing within the body, then let's go to the body.
It's feel.
Right? And if the symptom is existing at the level of the mind, I have depression or anxiety, let's go talk to,
Mm,
let's go talk to the mind. The thing is that we have the answers. And my role I see as
mhm,
guiding people into their own wisdom to find out what those answers are. And then I also feel my role is to help people put the pieces together and make meaning
mm.
out of what is coming from these inquiries that we're doing in the session. Yeah.
I see you as like the beautiful and female version of like Gandalf, if we're on the heroes, the heroine's journey, and then you're like, come this way. And so
Yeah. Yeah,
I
that's funny. I did a course one time called The Heroine's Journey
oh, did
for
you?
yeah,
Okay.
I had a circle of women, and we went in on this whole, like, it was about a 9-month program, and every month we went onto a different level of that heroine's journey. So yeah, it is kind of like
I
that.
love that. I love
Yeah.
that. It's so true though. Sometimes I know I've hired, whether it's coaches or even a sports nutritionist, like there's such value in having someone reflect back that wisdom and ask you questions that you don't ask yourself. You just wouldn't
Yes,
have thought about them. We're a fish in our own water.
that's
And
it.
so you have a number of tools that you use also for this self-reflection as well. You use Reiki, astronomy, you have and like the moon cycles, you have use nature, a very feminine also practice in that way to help people discover their power. Can you speak to us a little bit about some of those tools, your favorite ones, and how they can help those on the call to learn more about themselves?
Yeah, sure. Well, I would say that my primary frame for all of this is energy.
Mm,
So I try to look at things from the perspective of the energetic system,
mm,
right? And so when we look at it that way, using some of the models that we have for looking at the energy system in for individuals, helps me to see things from a more holistic perspective. So when we can relate a symptom to a chakra, and
mm,
then we do a little bit more questioning about, oh, what else might be going on? Oh, and sure enough, it all relates to the same energy center. So what I feel my role is there is to help people reframe their experience in terms of energy and how energy functions.
mm,
That takes out a lot of guilt and shame, you
mm,
know, because people feel, um, there's still a stigma around counseling. There's still a stigma around going for help.
mhm.
Weirdly,
I know.
there still is a little bit of a stigma around it.
Mhm,
And I think when you reframe it from the point of view of energetically, this is what's happening. This is the process of this is how the energy is interacting in your body. This
mm,
is where it may be blocked. This is where it's not in flow, right? So we reframe that and look at it in terms of energy, and then we have a way of shifting the energy. How does your energy shift? Through insight,
mm,
right? Through
mhm,
going into the system. Like I say, I use different forms of inquiry to literally have the person go into the system. And when we see things from a different perspective, that everything wants to grow.
mm,
There's many defenses and protections that we have developed
mm,
from our conditioning, and we're holding on to that vision of the truth
mm,
within our body. But as we grow and develop, those original conditioned thoughts and ideas do not they don't relate to us anymore. They
mhm,
are not true for us anymore, and yet we're still holding on to them. How do we know? Because they cause suffering. If something is causing suffering, it is asking you to come and help it. It's
mm,
asking you to come and hold the space for it to be healed. How is it healed? We look at it from a different perspective. We liberate that energy
mhm,
so that it can become something else, right? Energy is never destroyed. All it does is transform to a higher level of expression. The beautiful thing is just like when you hold a baby as a first, like with with any baby, but particularly as a first time mother, there's something about the benevolent gaze of the mother.
mm,
There is a transmission there of
mm,
love.
mm,
And that becomes the basis of attachment, the
mm,
basis of the bond, right? It opens the heart of the mother, it opens the heart of the child. When we can take that same benevolent gaze and turn it towards ourself, turn
mm,
it towards what is suffering inside, that is the power that helps things to unwind from that original conditioning
mm,
and come back into its natural expression, which is always love,
mm,
light,
mm.
joy. That's what we're meant to be. We're not meant to suffer. But suffering is a symptom. That's it. It's a symptom, and it tells you that something wants to transform. So for me, holding space for somebody to do that, I hold the benevolent gaze of
Mm,
with the client,
mm,
right? Because that's my role, is to hold that space of love and light for them so that they can hold the benevolent gaze for whatever's suffering inside, from old conditioned ideas. I'm no good. I'm not good enough. I'm going to be abandoned. I'm not going to, I'm not going to have what I need. There's a fear of lack or whatever it is. When we turn our benevolent gaze inside on those conditioned beliefs, they begin to just naturally relax. It's really miraculous. So I use inquiry, I use breath work, I use meditation, I use guided imagery, I do Reiki. So I do like a transmission of energy through Reiki to hold space again, hold people in that grounded presence. And yeah, that's it. Now, as a separate thing from my counseling, and of course it's it's all related, but as a separate offering, I have had a lifelong passion for astrology. So I'm super interested. Sometimes people choose to come and have a reading, and when I do readings, I'm an evolutionary astrologer. So we look at, for those who choose a reading, what we look at is what is the overall blueprint for this lifetime for this person? What are the lessons? Why are they here? What are their lessons? And evolutionary astrology is a beautiful it has a beautiful way of using the symbols of the planets and the stars and their configuration at the first breath. The moment of our first breath sets the blueprint for what we're here to learn. And it's very much about soul development, where we're starting out, what is the curriculum for this soul, and where do we want to end up? What kind of classes are we taking in the University of the Soul this lifetime? and where do we want to end up? So we look at Pluto, the placement of Pluto. We look at the opposite degree in the chart to the placement of Pluto, which is called the Pluto polarity point. That's our like end point. That's like stop here, right? And then we look at the north and the south node, and that helps us to know what's the vehicle. How am I going to get there? So I find that astrology and numerology, many different symbolic systems have their own way of codifying the truth. But the truth is the truth. We have many different ways of understanding it and accessing it through nature, through symbolic systems, through even through symbolic journeys like the heroine's journey and or the hero's journey, which was Joseph Campbell's observation, right? So, mythologies, stories, all of these methods are ways for us to try to understand our little piece of the truth, the prism, another prism for what's true. And we will feel drawn to certain ones and not feel drawn to others. And that's just fine. That's just who we are, and we're all different.
I love that. There's, you said so many things in so many layers. And I have gotten astrology, numerology readings, and honestly, it is powerful to see, like you said, blueprint. It's not like, we can't change we have that free will, obviously, but it's fascinating to see that. And whenever I've looked at my sister's astrology or my partner's astrology, I understand them better.
Yeah.
It's
this is it. Yeah. And this is what it should be, is a tool. It is a tool for self-understanding. But there's, I think any good astrologer will say the stars do not compel, they impel, right? That there are certain alignments, right, in the stars. And, for those who argue that, well, how could we possibly be affected by the movement of the planets? Well, how could we not? Again, looking at it from the point of view of energy, it's all one energetic system, and everything does affect
Yeah.
everything else. Are we affected by the sunrise? Yes. Are
Mm-hmm.
we affected by the full moons? Well, I think that's pretty well documented too.
Mm-hmm.
We are part of all of it. We're not separate from nature, and therefore we're not separate from the stars. But we have to stop thinking of things as just a material reality. It's an energetic reality. And
Yes.
at that level, we're connected with everything, right? Because we're all made of energy.
Yes.
So it's this beautiful field that we live in. The stars are part of it. Nature is part of it. Well, stars are nature. Humans, all the kingdoms, animals, crystals, birds, we're all in this beautiful matrix together. So yeah, so the exciting adventure in all this is to look through these different wisdom teachings and
Mm-hmm.
different systems that we have been given, handed down for thousands and thousands of years, and learn about the universe and ourselves and our place in the universe through these beautiful symbolic systems and through the reality of nature that's all around us every single day. And I don't see them as separate at all.
For anyone who is even curious, there's a bit of an inkling about, I wonder what my astrology chart or, anything like that. I recommend booking that call because like I said, I understand my sister and my partner better, but ourselves, and the more that we understand ourselves, we can then, like you said, have that benevolent gaze. And even as you were saying that, I felt that I can feel your energy, and those listening will, you have that love, that frequency. And when we carry that over, it transcends to everything else that we do. And
Yeah.
so on that point, I want to ask you, for those who are experiencing more anxiety and depression and like feeling like life is really, really hard in these times, not just now, but obviously this is 4 years after to come, what are some practices that you recommend that people can start doing?
Well, again, I do recommend doing some sort of a meditation practice daily. And meditation isn't just for relaxation. I think, what's happened in the West is that meditation has become just kind of like yoga in a sense, right? Yoga is now exercise, and
Yes,
meditation is now, oh, this is how I relax.
yes.
But there's so much more to it. And meditation does help us it is relaxing, there's no question, but it does help us to turn our attention inward
Mm.
instead of getting caught up in what's happening out here, which can be a very strong source of our anxiety. As soon as our awareness is tangled up
Mhm.
in these external, um, forces, which right now are quite, contentious. As soon as our energy gets caught up into that, and how does our energy get caught up? We pay attention to it. We
Mhm.
look at it on the news. We read it on Facebook. And every time we do, we have this emotional response. And then we're in it. Then our energy has been drawn into something that we may or may not actually, well, chances are we're probably not benefiting from.
Mhm.
So the first thing we do is we pull our attention back to us. We come back home. And this is our home right here in the heart. When we meditate, we can pull our attention back. It's almost like gathering all of our energy back and holding it in stillness right here and seating ourselves at the very center of that is incredibly renewing, but it also allows everything to settle. Thought, we're never going to get rid of thought. Thought is what the mind does. It's okay, it's a function. But when we put our primary attention on what is observing thought, what is behind thought, what is it within us that knows that we're thinking?
Mm-hmm.
because something is observing all, right? So we're aligning back there with that which is completely neutrally observing what is, thought being part of it, emotion being part of it, physical sensation being part of it. But are we caught up in thought, emotion, or in sensation? No, we're withdrawing our energy back to the observer. And we are sitting in silence and stillness. What does it do? It helps us. First of all, it does help us to relax. Nothing wrong with that. But it also brings us back to our inner world. And this is where our resources are. They're not out there. They start here. I mean, yes, we are getting resourcing from friends and family and community and work and, all that stuff. But our resources are in here. When we only go out there for our resources, we are going to run out of them very quickly because they're not always available. And anyway, it becomes all dependent,
Mm-hmm.
right? Is my friend available? Do I have a job? What's my status in my community? What kind of image do I have? Those are all transient. What doesn't change? What is always and already here, right here. So every day coming back to ourselves in that way, in a very mindful way. There's many different types of meditation, and a breathing practice, a meditation practice. And I would say really taking a look at what we're eating, I think is really good. To be eating whole foods that are really energetically vibrant, and get outside. Get outside. Go for a walk. It doesn't matter how cold it is, how snowy it is. Get outside. We are earth people. We're earth people. Here we are. We all think, oh, I'd like to escape earth and go live on a star somewhere. But you know what? Right here, right now is where we are.
Yeah.
So earth, the beautiful natural world around us is here to help, to heal and stabilize us. So I think that's a huge resource right there. All those things, and for me, it's connecting with other people in my community to come together and meditate together, to come together and maybe, do some Reiki on the planet or whatever it is, like really connecting with others that are your people, your soul family, and making sure that you're connecting regularly with those that you feel that real connection with. And if you don't have those people in your life, maybe you can put your feelers out a little bit and find them, because they're there. We don't come in without our soul family. We don't. So, putting our feelers out and getting that. I think those, it's really pretty basic. No big no big revelations there, but yeah.
Well, those are the revelations in itself, though. And I'm even, thank you, because I'm gaining also, wisdom and insight, reminders just from talking to you, because it's so true. They are these very simple practices, and we do have that soul family. And I know there's nothing in the world that can replace time with a girlfriend, a good girlfriend, or like a group of girlfriends. It's also the oxytocin, but it's also there's something there that's very, very uplifting and very connects us. And so I'm very grateful for that, and I highly recommend it. And those tips are practical, and that's the thing, because if they were these complex concepts, then none of us would be able to do it. But it's so true.
Yeah,
And so
it's accessible.
yes. And so for those of you who are listening, pick one of those things that Ariel just said, and start, and you offer courses and programs. And so I'd love for you to share really how you work with people, what offerings you have currently, and where people can find you.
Sure. Well, what I wanted to add, I just want to add
Yes,
one little thing
please,
to what
please.
we were just talking about, because I think this is also really important. And that is, I'm a really big fan of having some sort of loving kindness practice,
Mm.
whether a loving kindness meditation or self-compassion. There's a really beautiful teaching and set of meditations by a woman named Dr. Kristen Neff, who does she teaches a self-compassion practice. I think where we really need to be sitting right now with all the change going on and all the challenges we have is really coming back to our hearts,
Mm.
because this is, again, this is our primary resource, is to be, in that place, hopefully, of non-judging, non-self-judging,
Mm.
and, really cultivating that heart connection. It's really essential right now. Yeah.
Powerful. I
Yeah.
feel that in my heart as you say that as well.
It's like when I first got started, I saw the Dalai Lama on TV for the very first time. And, he always says, and he said then, and it just touched me so much, my religion is kindness. And, I just think that's so beautiful. And that's been certainly my aspiration.
That's how your journey started, isn't it?
Yeah.
By seeing him
Yeah.
on TV and be like, whoa, this is the kind of leader that we need in the world, and this is who we are embodying.
Yeah. Well, and something just opened when I saw that. I saw him for the first time, just something inside just opened right up. And then I was like, "Oh, what do I do with this?" And I was the same. I was like, "Who do I find? Who can I find to help me?" I just didn't know what to do with it. But I found a teacher and I started a meditation practice right away, and then I was off and running. Yeah. Anyway, you wanted, well, what I'm doing, and one of the ways that people might want to just kind of have a taste of what I do is, it's on my website. I do meditation for the new and full moon every month. And so that's a fun kind of way to get together with other people who are also on this same kind of journey. And I do talk a little bit about the astrology of what's going on in the sky and how this relates to us, and how we can typically kind of use the energy or be in flow with the energies that are happening right now. And then we do like a guided meditation, followed by some silent sitting. And then that's it. It's about an hour long, but that's one way. It's all by donation. So that's a nice way to get a taste of whether, if you were thinking that you would like to be in touch with me, that might be a good way to get a taste of whether that's a fit and is resonant for you, because people do need to feel that resonance with whoever they may be approaching for support and help.
Yes.
So that's one thing. I have I have my holistic counseling practice, and I am taking clients right now. There may be a little bit of a wait, but certainly open to new clients there for the holistic counseling. I also see people for astrology, doing chart readings for their natal chart and also for transit charts. And I have a group going on right now that there's going to be a new intake for in April. We're finishing up the last 3 months. It's called Living Light.
Mm.
And it really, we go through a 6-month process of looking at different, I guess, again, different kind of windows on the self. So we start off with I am light, and then the next month, and we do exercises. I give lots of resources. We do a lot of meditation, discussion. Then we go to the next level. I am awareness. I am love. I
Mm.
am. So it's all different ways of defining self, but all of it with an eye to transformation, growth, awakening. So yeah, so that will be starting up again in April. And right now, I don't have any other programs going, just the meditations. Living Light will be starting up again in April. And like I said, there's several different offerings. I do Reiki online as well. I also teach Reiki online. So yeah, any one of those ways are good. And I can be reached on, probably the best way is my website,
Mhm.
ariellearoyd.com, and or by Gmail, ariellearoyd@gmail.com. So should I
I
spell
will,
it?
yeah, I will actually link everything that you mentioned on the show notes and the YouTube description as well for anyone listening and
Oh,
want to
great.
get in
Okay.
touch. Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
Amazing. Ariel, do you have any last words, anything else that you wanted to add and share before we?
Um, well, I guess, just a message for people right now, because it is so confusing. There's so much going on. It's really easy to get drawn in to all the opinions and all the factions and what's true, what's not true.
Mm.
I guess my message, especially and with COVID, of course, and everything else that's happening, um, I just feel really strongly that people need to pull away from all of the noise, and pull right back into the heart, and know that, this is of such a vast resource for us. That fear is, this is where we have to watch that we don't get pulled into the fear. We don't get pulled into the anger. We don't get pulled into this, all of this factionalism. And instead, we pull our energy back in. And I think daily is really important. We pull it back into ourselves, to our own hearts, and really nourish ourselves at a heart level. And that might be buying some flowers for ourselves. It might be just getting away from your desk and going outside and taking a walk to a beautiful place.
Mm.
But our hearts really need that nourishment. And this is really where our resources are right now. And to really trust that, because I do believe that we're all going to get through this just fine. Yes, we're going through a tough time collectively and many individually, but it is also great opportunity for incredible growth. So we really do need to keep the faith. Keep the faith, just in whatever you believe in, but
Mm.
also in the goodness and the love that is at the bottom of all of this. I
Mm.
really truly believe that.
Powerful message. It's so true. And especially with the access of information, a lot of it can spiral us into any sort of state. And so I believe your message is more important than ever right now. So I'm so excited to share it and have listeners share it. So, thank you so much for being on, for sharing your wisdom. And thank you for those of you listening. I do invite you to connect with Ariel and share this episode because this message needs to be out into the world. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Celine. It was a pleasure to be here.
Thank you.